So question, did you ever think to yourself like, because you know you have some entrepreneurs that say, I'm gonna pursue this, I'm gonna leave my job. Would you recommend that as an entrepreneur? Or would you say work your job to be the vehicle to fund your business, and when it's doing enough, then think about leaving? Because I think that we live in this like world where it's like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, let me leave my job. But then that's how you find a lot of people are struggling, and they are putting too much pressure on the business to perform and haven't really had a proof of concept.
Yes. So there's something that I learned about early on called the runway.
Hmm.
And having a runway allows you to run the business. So it looks different for everybody, but how much does it cost you to run your business? If you're like, my business made nothing the first year. I wrote, there was no money to be made. I spent money on a website. I spent money on an email list. I spent money on an editor for my book. I spent money on a formatter for my book and a cover art designer for my book, but I didn't make any money the first year. So I still needed to feed my family. I had 4 kids and 3 large dogs, and they wanted to eat. And they kind of liked having a roof over their head. So
Hmm.
for me, this was a side hustle. Everybody's in a different place. And so I don't like to prescribe, I would have to talk to each individual person and say, based on what you're telling me, this is what I would recommend. But for me, it was important that it was a side hustle to start. And honestly, as much as I believed I was an author and I was an entrepreneur, I never at that point could see this book doing as well as it did, as fast as it did, and getting me to the point that it got me. I am still blown away when I think back and I put myself back in that person that I was in 10 years ago. Honestly, 10 years ago, I wrote the book and published the book. And 10 years ago, I was writing the book. I was in the process of writing the book. And
Wow.
that person who was struggling to make ends meet and working a job and then a second job to try to make ends meet and writing and when I look back, I never thought that I would be where I am now. But each success gave me the confidence to dream bigger and bigger and bigger. So to answer your question, I feel like everybody needs a runway. If you happen to have, you know, $15,000 in the bank and it can support you to live the next 3 months or 6 months or however long it's going to take for your business to get to the point where it's cash flow positive, then you may be able to go full time with it. But don't do it thinking you're going to make money from day one, because believe me, there is no easy road unless you win the lottery ticket.
I know that's right. I love what you say, and I am definitely a woman of faith, and my viewers they understand that. And I'm going to say it like this. I don't want to put you in the box to say it, so I'm going to say it. I feel like if you trust God's timing for your life, if God is giving you a dream, a desire, He's putting it in your heart, and you follow what He tells you to do. This is why you have favor over your obedience. So I'm gonna say it just like that, and you can pick it up how you want to pick it up. But that's a true testament to what what happened with you. You followed, you were obedient, you were consistent, right? You stayed with what he told you to do. You were consistent in that regards. And then when you in return of your obedience, that's how come everything was able to accelerate and to grow the way it did. Because, in my opinion, now this is my opinion, it was because of the obedience of that for you. In 10 years, you built such a big business, for yourself, and it is helping others. So you still have that helping aspect, right? And
Yeah.
it's still a nurse at heart, but you still have the opportunity. You grew a business, and that is so it's it's not easy for us nurses to do, because we're not taught. Even the physicians, they're not business minded. We're not taught how to do this business and how to strategize, how to do all those things that you did do. So I think that was divine alignment and obedience that came together and got you to the point. So I just had to pause for the cause and say that part. I wanted to put that out there. Sorry about that, but I needed to just,
No, it's very important. And we talked beforehand about, I
yes,
honestly feel like God was just telling me to do this. Follow me, trust me.
Yes.
Do you trust me? You trust me? Then do what I say. And what I
Mm,
say is get up and write. And you don't need to see the big picture. We need to see the next step. And I think if I would have saw the big picture, I would have been afraid and I would have thought that's not me. If I would have saw where I was now, I would have been like, there's no way that's me. I still
mm.
can't believe it. I wake up every day and I'm like, this is my life. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It still amazes me and it's still in it. I'm blessed beyond measure. And but I did the work. I didn't just say, God, give it to me.
Come on now. Come on now.
I
You
said, God,
did the
I'm willing to
work.
work.
Yes.
I'm willing
And
to
you
work for
invested
it
in yourself too. Like you
a
saw, because
lot.
I feel like some people feel like they investing in yourself like is a lost cause. You saw that you had a weakness and you say, you know what, well, I want to feel confident. That's number one. What it was, and I want to make sure that I'm writing effectively. So let me just invest some money in a writing class. Like we can't be afraid to invest in ourselves. We can't be afraid to, because some people, oh, I don't want to put that money. I don't want to spend this type of money. When you're trying to secure financial freedom or whatever your life's goals are, your biggest investment is yourself. And I think that that is another key point that I took away from what you
Thank
just
you.
said.
Thank you.
Because
Yes. And I can't say that enough. If you if you don't believe in yourself enough to invest in yourself, who else is going to believe in you?
no, I agree.
I mean, honestly, like, and I knew I'm a hard worker. If I make a deal with myself to start something, I'm going to finish it. So every time I have spent more money on self-development and on myself than than I used to make a year as a nurse. Okay. Just
I
say
get it.
most people would be, but every dollar that I've spent, I have got back tenfold
Mm,
because you have to understand that you can do anything but you need help getting there. Like I needed
mm-hmm.
help with mindset. I just finished off 2.5 years, maybe it was even 3, with a mindset coach that I spent big bucks on because I needed to change my mindset from that little girl who was told she can't do anything and who grew up with not having everything that everybody else around me had and thinking that I was less than. And I had to change my mindset to say, no, you are this person. You do deserve this and you can deserve even more. So, like, yeah, I still, even at this point, I'm investing in myself because I know there's more.
Wow, that is big. I think that that's big for you to even say that. Even though you started out listening to the podcast, you changed your mindset, you still are, even to this point where you've achieved goals, you've done what I'm sure you probably achieved goals past your dreams, right? But you
Absolutely.
still are investing in yourself and investing in that mindset. So that is really, really big. So at what point did you say, you know what? I'm going to or I'm going to leave a 9 to 5? Or was there anything that like was a catalyst to say, did you want financial freedom? Did you just want to spend more time with your kids? Like what was the catalyst to make that mind shift to going from taking, I guess, your side hustle to your main hustle?
Okay. That is a great question. So, when I first started my side hustle, I was afraid to spend any money. Okay. So, like, the
Mm,
Amazon sells the book, they send you royalties, like right now it's 60 days after. And the money hit the bank, and I'm like, people are going to want a refund. They're going to be like, this book is no good. They're going to send it back, and I'm going to have to send Amazon this money back. So, I was afraid to spend any money. So, after I think it was about 6 months. Had a nice little stash of money in there, which was great because now I had an emergency fund and I had a little bit of a runway and I was like, okay, I might be able to spend a little bit. I took some family on vacation. That was one of my bucket list things that, I wanted to do. Paid off debt, did all this stuff. And I'm like, the money's still coming in. Okay. I was afraid. I had that limited mindset, that limited belief that this can't, even though I was working on it, it's a process. It's not a switch that goes off. It's a process. And the more it works, the more you trust it to continue working. So that's why I'm still working on it because it's not a shift. I can slide back, I can go forward. It's just like anything else, and I need to work on it.
mm.
So the test was changing. Every 5 years, they redo the test. And I thought, okay, I just need to update the book. So I can be working my full-time job. And I had a year to write the first book. Now I had about 2 to 3 months to update the book for the new exam. From the time they gave us the new content to when the exam was going to be administered, and people needed time to study. So I'm like, I can do this. It's just like rewriting. So I was doing the same thing I was doing before, but it wasn't moving fast enough. I'm like, this will never be out. It's going to take me 6 months and the exam will already be out. And all these people that count on me for this information are not going to have it. So I felt like I had a choice. At that point, I had to decide whether to leave my job, which was the best job I had ever had with the best boss and just amazing, and work full time on the book, or just give up the dream. And I will be honest with you, there was no way I could give up that dream.
Mm.
There was just no way. Um, by that point, God had proven to me that this is working. You are making consistent money coming in. I knew what I needed to make it, like to cover my bills and all that. And we were just almost there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to trust because, again, my heart, that voice, everything was telling me, you need to take this leap. I will tell you one of the things that we did, and this is going to sound very unconventional, but this is how dedicated I was. It's very expensive to live in the United States um, compared to a lot of other countries. We actually sold the house, sold the car, except for my one car. I sold like my daughter, no, I didn't sell the car because I had a car. That's right. I'm sorry.
Mhm. No
Correct that.
worries.
We took the car, we put everything we owned in the car, we sold everything we owned, we gave away everything we owned, except for what would fit in my Hyundai Elantra, and we drove to Mexico and lived there because the cost of living for us was a lot cheaper. So we were earning US dollars. It's called geographical arbitrage, if you want to know the technical name. I didn't know that when I did it, but I'm like, okay, it's going to be really hard to live here. If we have one bad month, we're not going to make it. But if we live there, it's cheaper. And
I
we'll,
love that. I love that. That's amazing. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because that is amazing.
it's radical.
Radical. It's thinking out of the box and it's
Yeah.
committed. So you guys, so did you have all your 4 kids with you and you guys moved?
So by this time, a year before, the all 4 children were out of the house at this point. They all, they graduated, they're out of the house, and the house was too big. Like when I had 4 children and 3 dogs, believe it or not, each year one of the dogs died and the kids moved out of the house. Like they're just moving the dog. And I'm like, now all of a sudden I have this house that's way too big. And I'm like, if I'm going to sell the house, I'm not going to buy another house. Again, it was just like, if we're going to do this, we're committing 100% and we're going all in. And the best opportunity for us to make it financially and to have the style and I had a really good class of living there on a lot less money.
No, absolutely. I think that is profound. If you didn't catch that, I don't know what to tell you because that is profound. I think you have to you really went for it. Like and I think that is so admirable because most people say they want this. They say they want to live off the entrepreneurial life. They say they want to have these streams of income, but you really say, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it comfortably, and it's okay for me to leave the states and it takes a different type of person to do that because people are committed to things. You know, things can be status symbols. So people say, "Oh, I have my big house," like you said, I have my big house. You know, I have my this and my that. They're things, but are you
Yeah.
really committed to the dream? Are you committed to change your lifestyle in order to see the dream really grow? And that right there, I think that is so cool. That is so cool. And that is a great story to hear. I didn't know that part. That's a great story.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
it was we have learned that things don't matter.
Mm.
That's that's just at the point we're at right now. And you know the end story to where we're traveling full time and everything we have fits in 2 suitcases, one big one and one carry-on size. So things really don't matter. It's the people you're with and the experiences that you're having.
Amen to that. So you moved to Mexico. From that point, and you're working your business, you're writing for the new edition, what or the new test edition, and even the new edition for the book. At what point does the Case Management Institute get developed?
Oh, good question. I don't think anybody asked me that before. So
I'm doing
you're
good.
doing so good. So in my mind, like if you listen to Shark Tank, again, I'm absorbing everything entrepreneurial. I didn't go to school for entrepreneurship, but I am listening to every entrepreneur out there, Shark Tank, podcasts, all this stuff. And to me, having one product is not a business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur with a business. I was an author. I wanted a business.
Mm,
So the next logical step for me was, at this point, we had created a Facebook group that you had mentioned earlier. And people were asking, both through emailing me and in the Facebook group, for more help than just the book. Some people were auditory learners. Some people, so they wanted a course to go along with the book. And I knew I was the same way. When I was studying, I wanted a course, and there was only one course available. You had to travel for it. So you had to get time off of work. You had to travel, pay for your lodging, pay for your meals, and pay for the course. And the week that they were having it, it was like the same week as my daughter's graduation or something. So it just wasn't going to happen. So I saw the constraints and I'm like, why is there not an online course? Well, I was going to create an online course, but as the fates, as God, as luck would have it, somebody reached out to me who was very high up in the case management space. Now, at this time, all I did was write a book and work as a case manager. Okay. I hadn't done anything else. Nobody knew who I was except for people who read my book. And this woman who was like the past president of the Case Management Society of America, she won the Lifetime Achievement Award, sends me a message on Facebook and says, I see what you're doing in case management and I'd like to talk to you. And I'm like, oh no, I'm in trouble. Oh no. Like, I'm doing something wrong. They're finding out I'm doing something wrong. So I was like petrified. Comes to find out, she's like family to me now. I love her with all my heart, and she has been my mentor. But so we started talking, and she was talking about my book and how she really enjoyed it. She agreed to read and content edit, like do an expert edit of my second version of my book, so that
mm,
like I got that seal of approval. Like, it's not just me. Yes, other people that have been doing this a lot longer than I have put their seal of approval on it. And it's called peer reviewed, I now learn, which
yes.
I didn't know. So so anyway, we're talking and I'm like, people were wanting this course. I think the next step is a course. And she's like, well, I have a course. I do it at the different CMSA chapters around the country. We could do it online. So we did it online as a live course, and people bought it and they loved it. And we're like, okay, let's record this so that people can take it whenever they want. They can take it in bite-sized pieces. They don't have to like show up at a certain place and time. And that is when I feel like it turned from a book to a business. And that
Mm,
was, to me, that's when that happened. And that's when we started having opportunities with different companies, and we needed a contract and we needed a business name. And so that's when Case Management Institute is like, okay, now we're official. Now we're a company. Now we're getting our LLC. I did the whole book writing and moving to Mexico and all that stuff. And never, I was never officially a company. Like right before we moved, we did our tax ID and our LLC because we knew we were moving out of the States and we needed that. So yeah, we actually became a company at that point where we added
wow.
that second income stream.
I think that is so important to talk about, especially for my nurses entrepreneur out there. We're how do I want to say this? Collaboration over competition. Okay,
Yeah.
because in that respect, you could have been like, I want to, because let's be clear, like you could have said, no, I want all my money.
Mm-hmm.
I want all my money, girl. I'll create my own course and I'll see you when I see you. That could have been your mindset, but I think understanding that we all have a seat at the table, there's enough money for everybody, and also looking at how you didn't have to write a whole course, she already had it. So coming together and collaborating really like moved, I'm sure, the needle for you, because you have like this esteemed person who you're combining with to create a product. And I think it's important to understand that it's not a harmful thing to collaborate with people in the same space, because the collaboration can move the needle forward for everybody. So the tide rises, all the boats rise, right? So everybody rises when the tide rises if you guys are all on one accord. And I want to stress that point, because we tend as women, at times to be catty with one another, to to gatekeep. That's what they call it these days. And I'm glad you really expressed how it went from, you being singular, doing what you do, to collaborating with this mentor for you. So you guys, it's not a bad thing to collaborate.
And I'll go
At
one step
all.
further with that. I had been watching all these listening to these podcasts, watching these entrepreneurs that were successful. And something that I was noticing was the successful ones stuck together and did things together and promoted each other and helped people find each other. They all helped each other and they all rose. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create that network of nurse entrepreneurs where we all come together, we help each other, and we all rise up, because that's what entrepreneurs do. And if you want to be a nurse entrepreneur, you need to stop eating your young and you need to start gathering around the table, and we all eat from the buffet, because there is
Listen.
more than enough for everybody.
So now we have the Case Management Institute. It's running. You have your courses going. Okay, so I have a question for you. So, coming from your standpoint, did you have any leadership experience, and was it hard to transfer from doing, if you didn't have any leadership experience, was it hard to transition to that mindset? Because that's a totally different mindset, because you go from singular doing your thing to now you're a CEO.
Oh my gosh. Once again, you have hit a question that nobody else has ever asked, but it is such an important one. Yes. And that is something else that I get training on, whether it's I read books, I listen to podcasts, I take courses on leadership, because no, I was always the worker bee. And I was happy being the worker bee. I never wanted to be a manager and have all that pressure from above, pressure from below, all of that. But when I started this organization, I learned very quickly that I was the leader and I needed to step into that. And I needed to learn how to do it well for those that were working with me as collaborators, as team members, in any way, shape, or form. I needed to learn how to be a good leader. So, yes, that's something else that I have spent a lot of my time and my self development energy on.
Nice. Okay. All righty. So now your business is growing, and you say, okay, this is what I want to talk about, guys, because I think it's very important. If you're watching the channel, if you're new to my channel, subscribe. Okay, first of all, like and subscribe. Not only that, I have videos about my journey as an MBA student. So what I love about Miss Deanna, and what I love about her, is that she is a businesswoman. Okay, this is a boss lady right here. And why I'm saying she's a boss lady is because she was able to secure a deal with MCG to pair with her training. So we talked about Case Management Institute. We talked about they did training. So these trainings, she has a course. It's called Foundations, the Foundation Series. So it talks about, you have foundations in regards to care management. You have foundations in regards to utilization review. Then you have one that pairs the two. But there is a really interesting component that makes her classes or her courses stand out, is that it's paired with MCG. So if you're new to the case management space, utilization review space, there are two leading guidelines, right? One of them being MCG. Either guideline, you cannot have access to them unless you are a healthcare system that pays for it, right? So it's very if you're not on somebody's job getting the certification or getting the training, you won't get it. Let's just say that. However, Miss Deanna has the only course outside of healthcare systems with the MCG component. And I thought to myself when I realized that this is a big business deal. This is not no small potatoes. You had to have some business acumen to pull this off. So I would like to know, you don't have to give me the nuts and bolts, that's your business, I understand, but how did that come about? Was it networking? Was it cold calling? How did that deal come into play, and what did it take to execute
Okay, great question. So
it?
going back in time. So first of all, you have to ask. And
Ask for the
that was
sale, right?
scary. Yes, you have to ask. If you don't ask, you will never get it. Um, Also, you have to show up. I was at a conference, and showing up and seeing people in person is very different than sending an email, sending a LinkedIn contact, sending something that, gets deleted, or this is spam or whatever. So I was at a national conference, which I attend annually for case management. This is why I tell people, you need to show up. You need to go to these places where other movers and shakers and people are, because you never know who you're going to meet or what's going to happen. I went to the booth. We had a booth, and I stepped away and I went to the booth of MCG, and I was like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. We are an online education company. We are the best online education company for teaching people how to pass the CCM exam. We also have this other thing, and I would like to bring in your company's software and teach people how to use it. Now, of course, the people at the booth were not the people that can make that decision, but they knew who could. And she was at the conference also. And they said, you need to talk to the person who's in charge of our education department, because she's trying to get our software into education. And again, it was God. It was perfect timing. It was showing up. It was doing what I needed to do, and a little bit of grace. And we sat down and we talked. And we talked from our hearts, like you and I are talking,
Yes.
about what we wanted, what we saw, and what we hope to accomplish. And we both wanted to accomplish the same thing. We both wanted to create a way for nurses to come into organizations understanding how to use this and prepared, and to use it well, because it is a big program. It can do so much more than most. I would say 90% of the utilization review nurses out there do not use it to its capacity, because it can do so much more. And if we can teach them the basics up front of the most important things that they need, and then they can kind of grasp the rest of it, and at least give them hints and peeks of, like, here's all the other stuff it can do too.
Mm-hmm.
And we both had that vision. And so we started talking, and it wasn't easy. In a big corporation, the person you're talking to doesn't have decision-making capacity, but they know how to get things moving up the hill. And we just kept moving, kept in contact, kept it going, got all the permissions we needed, all the offs we needed. We had to prove who we were. We had a track record at that time. We were not brand new. We had at that time, we had like, I don't know. Right now we have over 1,000 reviews for the book on Amazon.
Nice.
I think it's like 4.5 stars or something like that. And so we could show them, we can produce. If you hand this to us, we're going to do it. We're going to do it well. And then we had the education department, because they have an LMS, a learning management system. We have one. We had to figure out how to work it together. That's where I have, we never talked about partnership, but I brought on very early a business partner, because he had businesses before, and he was a web designer. SEO is, he knows how to do it, which, again, if you're not into the space, but it's search engine optimization. It's just because you put something out there doesn't mean people are going to find it. It's a skill of helping people to find you. And so I can focus on creating excellent content. I'm a perfectionist. I want it to be excellent. I don't have to worry about once I create good content, how are people going to find it? Because then I hand it over to him and he puts it on the website and he does all of that good stuff. And so it's a great partnership and it works very well. And
Mm,
so we had to collaborate with their LMS and our LMS. So there was a lot. It wasn't as easy as just like, hey, can we use your stuff? Like we created a whole wraparound program around it because I saw the pitfall or the area that I saw was our weakest was that because people weren't working in the organization, they weren't getting clinical and using it right away. So they're learning it, but I don't know about you, but if I learn something and I don't use it, it goes right, in
yep.
one ear and out the other. So I wanted to prevent that. So what we did was we created cases so that they will learn one part and then they will get cases and they will work those cases learning using what they had just learned. And then they'll learn another part and then they run cases. So just like they're working for an organization, we make them have multiple tabs open. You know how utilization managers have two big screens and tabs
Yes.
open everywhere.
Yes.
We start them off with baby steps. They have three tabs open. But, we want to give them as much of the experience as possible so that when they go to work for the first time, they're not freaking out at having, oh, I have to go from here to here and have all these tabs open. And they are like comfortable, cool as a cucumber. They're impressing their preceptor. And there's none of this, oh, you're not getting it or you're too slow. And I'm sorry, you're not going to make it. After you worked hard to get your job, quit your old job, your orientation for this new job. And this is why this came because I had horror stories of people telling me that this happened to them. And I'm like, we can fix that. We can train
Mhm.
you beforehand so that you know before you ever quit your old job that you will be successful at this new job. You will know what it entails, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the wonderful parts of it, and how to do it well.
So I know I've held you here long, but I have what? Let me see. These are like fun questions. So,
Okay.
what's your favorite book? Are you reading anything new? What's your favorite book?
Oh my gosh. So, my favorite book that I think changed my life was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And
Good.
even he wrote another one called Outwitting the Devil, which I think is like just as good, but less heard of.
I've never heard of it actually.
Yeah, neither did I. It's like this, it was released years later and nobody ever heard of it. The other one that I just read is The Feel Good Productivity.
Yes,
And
the one you mentioned.
I really, we can be productive and happy at the same time. And it's not just about, I have this pressure I put on myself about always doing the most I can do and the best and getting the most out of every day. And I need to have fun while I'm doing it like this. This is fun.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you're having fun because I'm having a great time. So, what is next for the Case Management Institute and for you personally? Because I feel like you have such great, first of all, I feel like your voice is calming. So I feel like you have this disposition that like is calming and it makes it easy to receive. So I feel like you would be an awesome coach. So do you do any coaching at all?
I do. It's not something that I do as a like my main business. My main
Of
business is
course.
Case Management Institute. But I feel like I have learned a lot over these years. And again, I love nurses. I want nurses to be entrepreneurs. I want nurses to be in the job that they want to be in. I want them to stay in nursing if they want to stay in nursing and not feel like they have to go work at Walmart because they're too stressed out. So I have a podcast. I don't know if I mentioned that to you before. It's called the Stay at Home Nurse Podcast. I started it probably maybe 2019, 2018. I don't put it out regularly right now. It's just a passion project that I do to give back to nurses. And it is kind of like this interview that we just did. It's a mix of everything from entrepreneurship to nursing to, how to figure out what you want to do in nursing to I interview different nurses in different areas. So it's just a mixture and a hodgepodge of anything that a nurse could need to know. Some of it is on mindset. It's everything. So if anybody's interested, they can go look at all the back catalog and find the ones that would be interesting to them. I do some one-on-one coaching also with some nurse entrepreneurs that are interested in, having a side hustle or a full-time business. I take a very individual approach. So my nursing career taught me that I like one-on-one, like ICU, labor and delivery, home hospice, home health.
Yes.
where I can spend, go deep with that one person and make a big change in their life. And case management was the same. I had multiple cases, but I had one patient at a time that I could go
Yes.
deep with and focus on. And then when I hung up the phone, I went to the next one. And so I like that with my coaching also. Like it's not a, it has always been my philosophy of my life and what it is that I'm here to help others reach their goals and dreams. Whether that was a
Mm.
patient who just got diagnosed with something, whether that was a mom who wanted a labor experience that she wanted, and whether that's a nurse that I'm coaching. What do you want? It doesn't have to be the same thing I want. What do you want, and can I help you get there?
Perfect. So you guys, I am going to drop Miss Deanna's email information. You guys can contact her if you want to get any of her nursing coaching. I mean, listen, I'm about to sign up, so I know I advise you to get in that to send a nice email to get on track to where you want to go. I'm going to go ahead. I know I've taken up a lot of your time. So any lasting words before we get out of here?
No, just honestly, I think that they should all be like subscribing to your channel and watching all of it is so much fun to watch you. It really is. So
Thank
I'm a
you so
fan.
much. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Deanna. Miss Deanna, we are not going to, you're going to be definitely a friend to the channel. And this will not be the last time they see you. You are always invited to my platform. And I am just so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.